All right, so hey guys, my name's Christian. I'm with the Orion News, and I'm here today interviewing my friend Matthew. He's going to tell us just a little bit about what his experience has been being homeless in Chico and pulling himself up by his bootstraps and figuring it out. And now he has an apartment, and Matthew was kind enough to house.
Yes.
He's kind enough to come down and talk about what his journey was like. So thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely.
Coming on, I mean. So I guess we'll just dive right into it.
Yeah.
So can you just tell us a little bit about, who is Matthew Mitchell, where are you from, stuff like that?
So I'm Matthew Mitchell. I'm about 28 years old. I hail from the Gridley area, Orville area. I do a lot of stuff in the community as far as music and playing piano and other things. I try to be involved in a lot of the community, like events and stuff, so to help people. So
So have you been a part of the Chico community for a long time now?
Yeah.
How did you end up in Chico?
I actually, when I lived in Orville with my parents, I would always visit Chico. So Chico was one of the places I loved. And then when I moved here, I actually, it was kind of a funny story. Not so funny, but being homeless part, but I moved here to Chico because I was working as a CNA at the time. And so I moved in with these two guys and didn't know that they were hoarders. So I found that out pretty bad, and then didn't have a room of my own. I was actually sleeping on the couch and paying rent, of course. Yeah.
What stuff were they hoarding?
One guy had like 5 car seats in the living room and like a whole bunch of random stuff, and his dog kept like peeing and crapping everywhere, like totally just not with it in the mind. And
you said you were a CA?
CNA, nurse, certified nurse assistant.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
Did you go to school or did you be a nurse assistant? Or just
I went through Orville Adult Education, and I think even Butte College, and I'm not too sure about Chico State, but they usually have like nursing programs and stuff for not just CNAs, but for like nurses and stuff.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So how was that experience working as a nurse assistant?
It can be tough. A lot of the facilities are understaffed. And as at one point, I was the only CNA for 40 people when California state law says only one CNA for 15.
Really?
Yeah. So it was pretty tough. So
pretty stressful, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious if so once you became homeless, I'm just kind of curious, connecting the lines between being a CNA. Did you notice a lot of things about the people living on the streets that you would have noticed by a person, say, coming in to a hospital, or like problems with them or stuff like that? Just having that mindset.
I've always been medically inclined, but coming from speaking of before I was homeless, a lot of us would be so quick to judge people, by their clothes, by if they smell or what they wear. And I didn't really work. I worked a couple times at a hospital, but it was mostly just like elderly care facilities. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, can you just tell us a little bit about how you actually became homeless in Chico?
Yeah. So when I moved with these guys, I was sleeping on the couch, and I was paying my rent. Mm-hmm. And I worked the graveyard from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I'd get off in the morning and I'd come home, and there would just be pee and poop everywhere from the dog. And I got sick of it, and I disciplined the dog. It was a little small chihuahua, right? So I just, smacked it, and then I just took it to where the poop was. And of course the dog yelped, and the owner came out and was just irate that I had disciplined the dog. And I said, well, it's defecating on my clothes, on stuff that I need to use for work, and my property. So clean it up. The house should be clean. And then I was working in that next day, And I get a text from my roommate saying, pack your stuff and leave when you get off work. And so when I got there, all my stuff was on the front porch, and I just shoved it in my Mercedes at the time in my car. And then I lived in my car for about like almost a week. And then I found the tour shelter and was very relieved to have, you know, something to lay my head down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty rude of that dude. That's
yeah.
pretty rude.
It was actually kind of a blessing because, you know, prior to being homeless, I still was kind of like expecting everybody else to kind of take care of myself and bail me out. You know, there's a lot of lessons I need to learn through that. Yeah. So I look at, you know, whatever happens in my life there's always something good that came out of it, or, you know, or something I need to learn.
How old were you about this time?
26, 27.
26.
Yeah.
So, from what I understood when we were chatting before, you said you were homeless for about a year?
Yeah.
So, did you spend a year in and out of the tourist shelter?
For the most part, yeah. I was mostly in the tourist shelter, and there was a period of time when I got kicked out because I allowed one of my friends who got kicked out of there to sleep in my car because it was very cold. And then I got, of course, in trouble for having them sleep on the car on the property.
So we were talking about tourist shelter kicking you out for letting your friends sleep in your car because it was cold. So that's obviously a very confusing and weird situation. Like, why do you think that was? And like, did they explain it to you? Or
usually when they kick you out, you're supposed to be not on the property. You know, you're supposed to go out, but it was like really cold. It was like 45, 50 degrees. It was raining real hard. And I just didn't have the heart to say, you know, screw you, you know, go be out in the cold. It says, you know, it's my car. Just sleep in it, so at least be covered. You know, and I made that sacrifice to help them. So. Did
you know that you were risking getting kicked out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they caught him on the property, obviously. So you get kicked out. Is that like for a certain amount of time, or just for that night?
There was two incidences. First one, I was notified that, you know, if they saw that they were in the car again, that would be, you know, this is a warning. The second time, they said, you know, you'll be out for 30 days, for a month. So, but I refused to, you know, let my friend, you know, friends.
So that was your second.
Yeah.
Wow. So you got kicked out, and that's while it's raining.
Cold season. Yeah, it was at 2 a.m. in the morning.
So, wow. So what's your move? What'd you do?
I just got in the car and with my friend Caleb and Carmen, and I said, just let's go. Let's, you know, we'll figure it out. We'll work it out, and we'll stick together. And we did. You know, my friend Carmen worked at the 99-cent store. I wasn't working at the time because I had lost my job as a CNA through, you know, not being able to take care of myself because of being homeless and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, but we stuck it out, and then in January of like 2018, last year, the car had first the Mercedes, you know, broke down, and then the transmission went out on that. And then I bought a Hyundai, and I was still working as a CNA at that time. And then the Hyundai got in a car accident in January. So I had most of everything I owned was in that car, and I could only bring with what I could carry on my back.
So, and this is during your year as being homeless?
Yeah.
So where along in this year are you, according to that story?
This would be like sort of towards the end part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you do after that?
So what I did, you know, it was really devastating. When you're in that situation, you know, especially, you know, you know, there's a lot of issues of you know, drug use, you know, crime that happens in the homeless community. And, you know, I fully understand and can agree on one side with the community of not wanting to enable, you know, transients or those who do not want to help themselves, you know, to enable them to continue the path of crime and, you know, all this. But from someone who went through that. Not saying I don't did any drugs or anything like that, but to be homeless, just from a freak incident, of not knowing. It was my first time renting from an apartment from someone, so I didn't know anything. It makes it difficult because the community sometimes will lump everybody together. Homeless, transient, and so all of them are drug users. All of them are crime committers, and that's not true. And I think, as someone who has been on the street and I talked to a lot of people, a lot of them just made a poor choice in life, and it's easy just to make a mistake and not think of, something or do it just because, and then you look down and like, wow, I have nothing left because of that.
Right.
And the fear is, how do I get out of the situation?
Right. Well, and something that makes me think of is just, talking about the government shutdown that just happened, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, how close so many people were, missing 2 paychecks, how close they were to starving or losing a home or getting so much further in debt. Like, it's crazy to think how hunky-dory our lives are until just a string of 1, 2, or 3 decisions and boom.
Yeah.
You're sleeping in your car with your 2 friends or... That's crazy to think, and I don't know, how does that shape your thinking of what it's like to be kind of like a human living in this modern bubble of society?
Growing up in a Christian community and with Christian parents, and being involved in the church, you would think, even outside of that, throwing religion to the side, you would think that the community itself would band together and help its own citizens. In their time of need. And I, being in that situation of not being, living in my car with my friends, I would just where is the support? Where is the help that, that communities say, oh, we're all for each other, but technically, apparently not.
Yeah. Is that in-group versus out-group?
Yeah.
Classic idea. Each other, and you're not.
And
each other.
When you are homeless, it's hard enough to just move, from day to day, and take one day at a time. But it's also hard to have any confidence in yourself because everybody else is, the community is screaming, oh, these transients are horrible. This is happening, that's happening. Let's lump everybody together. And so you yourself, you're thinking, well, I feel less than human because, I'm lumped into this category, and all I am trying to do is just get, through this part of my life and be better. So.
Yeah, that just makes you think, community of which you thought you belonged to is telling you now, maybe not you, but you feel this way because it's you, as in you said, getting lumped together, is you're worthless. You did this to yourself, figure it out yourself now in a lot of ways. What did you hold on to? Because it just makes me think there's got to be some part of this self-defeating idea that some people experiencing homeless are never able to get over.
Yeah.
And so what was... If that applies to you, what was that like?
Mine, I just, there was a time when I just kind of floated around. I didn't know what to do, didn't know how to navigate, where to start, how do I get my, some sort of self-confidence back, in who I am, who is Matthew Mitchell, what is Matthew Mitchell? And I just suddenly got sick of my environment, not that I was happy with it before, but I used whatever I didn't like as motivation to move forward. And I would even just put my stuff on the corner lot and tell my other friend, hey, watch my stuff. I'm going job hunting today. I don't care if I lose it. It's just stuff. But I am going to get my life better. And I did that.
So I found you on Chico Rant and Raves. Yeah, and you're kind of talking, from what it seemed like, it was like more like the end part of your journey. Yeah. Like finding a apartment to share or a house.
Yeah.
And eventually getting these 2 jobs. Like, did the jobs come first and then tourist shelter, or tourist shelter house jobs? How did that work?
Tourist shelter came first because I was at I used for a period of time I was in.
So I was asking you about the order of, was it tourist shelter house?
Yeah. Job? So at that time I was at Safe Space, and then I called in to the tourist shelter and got accepted back in, and then after doing that I started working at Mattress Firm for a little bit, and then I moved on to JCPenney, and then I got a second job at Carl's Jr. And if it wasn't for the tourist shelter and the Chico Housing Action Team, aka Chat Housing, I wouldn't be where I am today. Living with 3 other awesome roommates in a house and feeling like I'm human again.
Yeah, that kind of really brings to point how much having a home makes you feel human. But I was curious about your interactions with people. You said your friends, Carmen and Caleb.
Yeah.
What has been your interactions with people? Like, what is it like developing friendships through homelessness? That kind of stuff.
It's easy for me to be friends with anybody. I going through this, I try not to judge at all. Everybody is on their own path, on their own life. Only I can do is, maybe give some good advice, when they ask for it, or just kind of be a model, for them to follow and say, hey, if I can do this, losing everything, you can too. And it's not, it can be difficult, yes, but it can be done.
How'd you meet the people that you live with now? Was that through Chat?
Yeah, it was through the tour shelters, Chat, okay. So yeah.
So you kind of met them and were like, hey, let's get a spot together?
Well, it's kind of, they throw you into, because Chat has for 19 or houses they operate. And the tourist shelter runs I don't know if it's 8 or 9 of those. And so they kind of they ask you if you want to see, when they have an opening, they say, well, do you want to look at the house first? And they kind of just throw you in there. So you have to adjust with there. But luckily, I already knew my roommates and the people that lived there prior, so it was pretty good.
So staying on the topic of interactions with different people, we talk about the good people you interacted with. What's been some of the bad interactions you've had with people, or bad people you've interacted with?
There's always, let's say one story would be, I was at the Jesus Center getting breakfast and no, actually this one's better. This one's more funny. So I was actually at the transit center, and I had talked with, and I was still, I wasn't in the Chat house yet, I was still at the tourist shelter. And I had just bought the Sennheiser headphones, from the Chico State, right? So I'm at the transit center, and I go to light up a cigarette, and this guy's asking me for one, and I said no. And he kept, berating me, can I get one, can I get one? So I said no. So he takes my phone, which is only $50 at the time, chucks it at the transit center wall, and there's an actual dent there in the metal from the phone being just obliterated, right? And I was actually more happy that he didn't take my headphones, because I just dropped $300 on those. And I was like, well, the phone I could replace, the headphones not so much, Yeah. So, there hasn't really been a lot of negative interaction with the people. And I honestly think that if you're good to others, and you treat others with respect, you'll get that back.
This kind of, when that happened, where were you at in your journey?
I was towards the end part of starting, to get into the housing program.
Okay. So I was just kind of wondering why would you buy some really nice headphones for yourself? This is just...
I hardly ever even take vacations or, like, when I'm off work, I'm just home. I haven't been to the movies. I don't even have, like, cable at my house. I don't have any, like, I have Netflix, but that's just on my phone. And so I thought, I never really treat myself to anything. So I thought, I love music. I love to listen to a lot of things. And I just said, I'm just going to treat myself to this one thing, and I've enjoyed it ever since. Yeah.
So you said you love music. You told me you've been playing piano since you were 18, or for 18
since
years.
I have had over 18 years of lessons on piano.
Yeah, but you started when you were 4.
Yeah, by ear.
That's pretty neat. Kind of bringing it to your childhood, you also mentioned before that you were homeless with your parents before.
Yeah, that was, I was actually a foster kid when I was 4 years old. Off and on, for the most part. I just remember a brief period when my biological mother and I were, like, homeless. I don't remember how long it was, but I just remember, like, staying at one of the shelters in Marysville. It's just a brief memory. I don't really remember how long it was, but...
Did you have any, like, personal feelings related to that memory? Or,
no.
It just kind of happened?
Yeah.
Something you remember when you were a kid?
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you think about that now versus when you were, kind of making your way through homelessness, did you, like, use that at all to kind of, like, inspire you? Or, like, did that affect you at all? Or?
I think it affected me in a lot of ways. We're so accustomed, without ever going through these issues, we're so accustomed to judging people, or we see a homeless person and like the traditional asking for money, I need help or need money, we're like, oh, well, you're just going to buy drugs with it or alcohol, and we don't even stop to actually think, hey, and asking, hey, what's actually going wrong? How can I help you? We don't even do that. We just judge so quickly. And then we tweet about it, or Instagram or Facebook, and then now this person's face is on blasted, without even any true knowledge of that person's life, without any personal interaction. Just, this is what I see.
Talking about people standing.
Yeah. Traditional.
Freeway or something like that. Did you ever beg?
No.
Why not?
Pride.
So you think when you see those kind of people when you're biking by, what does that make you think of?
At first, and before I was homeless, I would just really quickly judge people, and I'm supposed to be this wonderful, Christian, so quote unquote loving person, but I wasn't. I would really be quick to judge, and then going through homelessness, it really shook my life, but in an awesome way, because now I see not only the one side, I'm the working man with a house, and suddenly there's a transient on my street. I am now, it's like, well, now I'm that person. So now I see how everybody else is, and how easily it can become from having this to this. And then it is hard to get back on your feet. Social, economic reasons, financial reasons. But if it wasn't for the programs that we have here in Chico, I would still probably be on the street.
So, kind of talking about when you're saying, like, people begging, you say, I don't want to give them the money because they're alcoholic and going to use their own drugs. From your experience, how many people came across as alcoholics, drug users, or mentally ill that...
Not a lot.
Really?
Not a lot. And part of my, understanding is, usually there's always a deeper issue. There's a reason why people are drinking. There's a reason why people are stuff, is they're trying to cover up or supplement that for something that's happening in their life, or has happened, that's causing them, pain, strife, depression. They're trying to cover it up or push it off to the side, and not deal with it.
So kind of delving into a little bit more of like, homeless groups in Chico.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm wondering, they all know each other?
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of theories I want to throw at you.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of city council meetings where they talk about the people that walk around downtown. I'm blanking on what they're called right now. And that they know the people in the plaza and they know when there's a new person. Do you ever hear anything about like? They seem to be territorial.
Yeah.
Has that been your experience, or have you heard anything about that?
Not really. Not really. When I was homeless, we were just like wherever we were. We just, if it was one day going to the plaza, or one day just going to the park with a couple guys, or maybe going to 1 mile. It wasn't really territory. Like, oh, this is my spot. And,
okay.
I mean, not that I can't say that it doesn't happen here in Chico, but from my experience, I didn't see that.
Were there any spots that you knew to stay away from?
No.
I'm just kind of wondering. These are all just things I've been like, dying to ask. So, like, are they from your interactions? Have you noticed them like being like very like grouped? Like, do they stick with groups?
Yeah, even in not being just a random, say you and your friends, there's always like, certain groups that friends that you hang out with, maybe some more than most, or, so yeah, they're, we kind of band together.
Okay. So, I'm kind of taking, like, there's like the popular kids in high school, the geeks and, the athletes, and do you think that there was a sort of hierarchy to homeless groups or homeless people within Chico? Is there anything that you would have noticed or seen? Or these are just kind of thoughts I've had.
Not really, not that I can say.
Yeah. So that kind of blows apart my theory about the Rat King that I was talking to you about, like that there's just this one underground network with like just a hobo king.
No, it's completely different than what people think. It's like we're all just trying to get through the next day. So,
yeah, because I think part of that was just feeding into my thought is that these people choose to be this way, or like they like this way, or
and
if they wanted to.
There are some people that do. I've asked when I was at the Jesus Center, and I was using the computers to find work, and utilizing their free clothes, to have something nice and clean for myself. I just lost my train of thought. What was your question?
About people who want it.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, there are some people who I've asked, and it's like, why would you want to be this way? In this situation with, dirty clothes and no showers and, no food, no money, and it's like they just enjoy it for some reason. And I didn't want to be like, Oprah and ask them every bit of their life, but, there are some that just choose to be that way.
Kind of basing off of that, I remember some friends of mine came down from Oregon. They were like friends of friends, and this girl named Emma was telling me about how she wanted to go city hiking, and we're like, what's that? And she's like, it's like when you like how you prepare for going like walking through the mountains or something.
Yeah.
You bring a tent, and you bring your clothes in your backpack, and you just hike through the city. And we're like, isn't that just like bougie homelessness? I just thought that was funny. It's like that's such the opposite side of the coin. Plus it'd be I feel like that'd be dangerous. But okay, once again, another stereotype. Do you think that it is as dangerous as people think, like being on the street or being
it can be, yes. It can be, dangerous. There is a lot of drug use, at Safe Space. I could go on stories of people smoking meth in the bathrooms and like destroying everything, and that would piss me off for most part. It's like, these places in these churches and these programs don't have to do anything for us. They don't have to. The tourist shelter doesn't even have to house us. They don't have to feed us, but they choose to because they want to help people get on their feet. And it just angered me that we would have people who would take advantage of that situation and still like destroy the property, or
Yeah.
It's like, for people, those actions, you yourself might not be a bad person, but the choices that you're making right now is affecting everybody, and how the society and how the community looks on
all of
that. Yeah.
Kind of going off the topic of bathrooms, I was at a grocery store up at the top of Chico like a week or two ago, and I asked them for the bathroom or where the bathroom was, and they go, it's on the corner, and they're like, the code is, some 4-digit code. And I was like, why is there a code and not a key or just like a open stall bathroom? What she said is because a person came in and was shooting up in their bathroom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, that's not that surprising for me to hear, or like, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Different point. What I'm saying is, Chico City Council is very contentious debate about, and in the community, about having 24-hour restrooms. Because to not have so is to degrade and dehumanize these homeless people. But on the other hand, I can kind of hear the argument of people shooting up, people overdosing, people not being able to get to them, people living in their kind of like locking out. Obviously, there's security, but also, what about like crimes that can be taking place at 3 o'clock in the morning? I mean, we just had a homeless person who was killed in the dark at Chico State last semester. So like, I don't know.
There's I can understand from both points. It's like, with the plaza, yes, I know a lot of the people that, the homeless that are there right now. And even as someone who has gotten their life together, I was about to say my word, got their life together, if I didn't know those people, I would be afraid. I would feel like, okay, because I have, I could be robbed, or, my wallet taken from me, or if I had a bike, a bike could be stolen. And I can understand the community's, hesitancy to like, well, let's not, actively, right at this time, provide that, because we know that there's, rampant drug use in the homeless community. And with if you go to the transit center, the bathrooms are nasty. The bathroom in the plaza is nasty. It's like, I went in there today just to go to the bathroom, and there's like clothes everywhere, and it's like I understand from their standpoint not wanting to do that, because there's there's a financial risk involved of not only just maintenance but upkeep and repair, and that can be costly. But on the other hand, if we don't do that, where are they going to go to the bathroom? In front of your business, in the alleyways, in 1 mile in the park. And so you got kids and everybody walking through there, and you see piles of poop and all this stuff. Well, how do we weigh it? 24-hour bathroom, so at least they can use the restroom, or you just say no and then whine about it later when the parks that you use are destroyed and defecated on because you chose not to offer that to that person. So it is hard to make those decisions, because in one aspect you want them to, get their life together, not just have free stuff all the time. Because it's so easy, even when I was at the tourist shelter, it's so easy to be complacent. We get fed breakfast, we get fed lunch, we get a 2-ride bus pass, we can go anywhere around Chico. There's not really much accountability to get your life together and responsibility. When we got the Jesus Center also with, breakfast and lunch and dinner, or 2 meals during the day, free clothes, so I can just, roam through life and use, get free clothes when my wears out. I can have free food, all that stuff. But on the other hand, if it wasn't for having those things available to me, I wouldn't be able to get back on my feet. Mm-hmm. So there is, how do we handle that? How do we juggle those who are choosing that lifestyle? And yes, we have those options available, but how do we juggle that from those to those who are actually using it for their benefit? And I personally have seen several of my friends, in the homeless community actually get back on their feet because of the Jesus Center, because of the Torah Shelter, because of Safe Space, mm-hmm. Because of the behavioral health programs that we have here in Chico. These things are vital. We need them. I just can see how, the community is like hesitant to wanting to further that, because the few that are enabled by that, have kind of destroyed some of the facilities, so to speak, that others have used. So yeah.
I also think they've destroyed the kind of trust in the system. It's a lot easier to believe that homeless are homeless because they want to be homeless, or criminals homeless, or violent, or drug addicts. It's a lot easier to
look
believe
at the campfire.
Things.
Look at that. A fire just ravaged and burned down a whole, not just Paradise, but Concal and Polga and all those cities there. And now we have over 50,000 people without a home. And that could happen to anybody. So none of us are immune from, becoming homeless, and I really think that since that has happened, I think it really has opened people's eyes to that anything can happen. Anything can make you lose your home. Mm-hmm. No one is immune. You can have, $1 million and a wildfire comes on and burns your house down, burns everything that you have in there. You're homeless. Doesn't mean you're a drug addict, mm-hmm. but you've lost your house. Mm-hmm. So
you bring up the campfire, and it makes me think of all of the relief centers that were set up for people who obviously lost their homes or had to evacuate. Then I remember about a week into it, I started hearing these stories about, well, there's just tons of homeless people now there, or like, and I was like, homeless? They're all homeless. No, like the people who have been homeless before, or like,
and there was. I through some of my friends at the Torah Shelter, they had stated that some of the people there were actively going and grabbing all that free stuff. And I was mad. It says, no, this stuff is for those people only, right. And that should only be used for those people, The Torah Shelter, they get clothes donations all the time. The Jesus Center has a free clothing store that you can get clothes for free. There's so many avenues out there to, with also Chico has a program, I think is like you can, general assistance, GA. So you can apply for that, and you have to pay it back, but you get about like almost $400 a month for like 3 months. Mm-hmm. There's so much stuff out there that could be used. It was just angered me to see that people who were previously homeless taking advantage, of the programs and the free stuff that was there specifically for campfire victims.
But to kind of bring up a point you just made before is that, you have $1 million and your house burns down, you're homeless.
Yeah.
So from what I understood, we were drawing this definition of like everyone's just homeless is homeless. So when I saw people being angry, and I have to say I felt a little upset that they were taking advantage, from what I felt like was taking advantage of people who lost their homes. But why are we drawing that distinction now? And why is there a distinction? And where does that boundary lie of just like helping out anyone who's homeless?
Yeah.
And so
I think part of it is, the people who lived in Paradise, they were in the community's terms, and I'm not trying to, put anybody down or anything, but there is this underlying that, they were, homeowners before, they had work, so they should get top priority over everything else. It's like, when did we lose our compassion for everyone? If you're going to suddenly now with 50,000 people, give help. What about those that were homeless before, that you overlooked, and you refused to help in the first place? I don't think there should be a distinction. If we can actively help others selflessly, that would, even if everybody in Chico just actively did one thing for others in our community, the whole system would be different. But we don't.
Right.
And we wonder why issues are the issues as bad as they are and have escalated to the point where they are today.
Right. I think that's a great place to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to let people watching know?
I'm good.
No? You good? I guess to say bye, people. Bye, people. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Cool.